your boy Joseph Rothschild, aka MBT, and I have a special guest with me.
Hi, I'm Spencer Detweiler, aka Blackacre, and it's good to see everybody.
We're mostly just hanging out today, and it's the Poison Nectar Monthly. So I thought I would stream Top Cut, which we haven't done before. I do love getting a chance to flex my casting muscles, attempt to potentially give you some sort of information that you couldn't get just by watching a bunch of games back to back to back. We are just going to be doing the top 8 today for the new MOONRISE event, and that's because personally I'm super excited to see what is being played in MOONRISE. Spence will be taking the role of guy who does not know how to play Elestrals.
I'm gonna pog every time an Astrabbit shows up.
Yeah.
Hey, it's guy I know.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
is that a 5-headed red eyes black dragon?
So hopefully this will be enjoyable to watch, but I think will also be a good opportunity to kind of explain to people who don't know what Elestrals is but clicked on the stream anyway, how these decks interact with each other. And I gotta say, before we get into the Top Cut, which is starting momentarily, I want to talk a little bit about the decks that people expected to be good. So if you take a look at that first circle up there, that is the list of decks that were represented in the Swiss portion of this event. We had 64 entrants and 35 of them showed up. Guys, if you enter in a tournament, you have to play around at least.
Come on, what are you doing? You signed up for this. We're going to play a little bit of card games. If you don't want to play card games, don't sign up.
I know, simple as that. And to make it even easier, we allowed proxies for this event. This is technically a casual event, but we know that the MOONRISE, while available at your LGS, is not all the way in the hands of everyone who wants it, just because pre-orders started being fulfilled this week. So if you're proxying MOONRISE stuff, you're allowed to get away with it, which meant we had a huge overabundance of MOONRISE decks. You can see the top most brought deck was the one I made a TST on earlier this week. That is Blizzstrix. Not surprising. This is kind of like Lightsworn if you play Yu-Gi-Oh! The concept is you get to play a significant amount of cards that on cast or on receive allow you to send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard. And then you play a significant amount of cards that, if sent from the deck to the graveyard, are able to be special cast. Sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a Cedar Soar is the wolf of the archetype. Anyway, that was the most represented deck in Swiss, and that second little pie chart is Top Cut. So for all of you dooming about Blizzstrix Tier 0, I have great news. You can stop.
I guess no one milled their good cards.
This deck is really good, but the thing about it is, occasionally, like Lightsworn, you can just whiff it forever and never get to anything productive. And it doesn't really play back row, depending on the variant. There's a little bit of build difference that I think accounted for the lack of conversion.
What's the equivalent of the wolf? The one that you love setting to the graveyard, but if you draw it, you immediately lose the game.
It's exactly Cedar Soar. It's exactly Cedar Soar.
All right, let's show those Cedar Soars in your opening hands.
Outside of that, we've got Lunar Aggro, which is, I guess I would say, the deck that has been forecast the most in terms of playability on the Elestrals channel. They've been talking about how Full Moon is such an incredible card. It is the closest thing we have in Elestrals, in my opinion, to a combat trick, with the exception of Argo, which is a pee-pee-poo-poo card for babies. It is viable on the back of cards like Nobby, which are incredibly statted, have unbelievable effects, and do even better when they're attacking into non-lunar Elestrals. So a mono-type deck that really appreciates that people aren't all in on Lunars. That one converted at the highest rate of anything with 2 in the Top Cut. That's right, 7 different decks in top 8.
You love to see it. The format is being ruined by nothing.
Yeah. After that in Swiss, we had Water Reanimator, a really popular deck last week that has completely fallen off. The Solar Aggro deck, which you are going to see, I think, in our first Top Cut match. Centarbor, which failed to convert at all. Joblin, which unfortunately bubbled. Morphrost, which is being represented by the one, the only Bean Soldier TV. Penterror, which had, I think, 2 entrants and did clear into Top Cut. And then 10 others. That was stuff like Thunder Beat, Voltempest, which you can see cleared, I believe, at the undefeated slot. So there is a lot to talk about in the top 8, and of course we will do so. Huge deck breakdowns will be on Caster's Corner. That'll be Trish talking about those. But our first feature is going to be the Bean Soldier and A-Team game. That is going to be Solar Beatdown versus Morphrost. So I'm super excited about this. It's going to use a significant amount of the new MOONRISE cards. I hope you all are excited to see where it goes. This is going to be pretty difficult because obviously this was set up for the CSM. I've taken a little bit of time to try and do what I can to adapt it for modern audiences. I featured a solar deck 2 weeks ago on stream, and I want to say I built it wrong. I mean, we'll see because, of course, these people have made it to Top Cut. They have had more time in the tank. They're better deck builders than I am. But I can't imagine it looks the same way mine did. The big get for Solar in Moonrise was this card called Draco Ray. And, oh, okay, we'll see it when we get to it. First, let's go with Bean Soldier. So, Bean Soldier is activating the effect of Morphrost Lichen form here. So, if you're unfamiliar with the Morphrosts, they are an entire series, almost an archetype, I would say, of cards that all have the same name, Morphrost. They can morph into different abilities, right? And the way that naming conventions work in Elestrals is you're allowed to play any number of cards with Morphrost in their name, provided they have different subnames, right?
Okay, so it's not like Umi.
That's correct. So here, we are playing a Morphrost Lichen form, which has a hand effect. It allows you to discard itself to the graveyard in order to add 2 Morphrosts from your deck to your hand, right? And we'll see which 2 we got. Then, because we have more Elestrals in our Underworld than our opponent, we can cast a Moralith, a 2-drop for like a normal cast. It's like how it would like be being lay down a Monarch without actually having to tribute summon it.
Okay.
Moralith has been really popular this weekend because of its application in that Blizzstrix deck, but here Bean Soldier's just playing it as a guy. Yes, okay, so it's going to be met with a Resting on Your Laurels, which is an impressively powerful card, a catch-up mechanic that can be cast only if your opponent has more Enchanting Spirits on the field than you by 2, and then we are going to see an activation of, what is that? Luxomare. So Luxomare is the solar version of Aeromare, costs 1, it is a 4/5, and is meant to be played with a card that gives control of it to your opponent. However, it's just kind of good on its own. That's a lot of the theory behind these like aggro lists is you just play generally good cards. And though I don't expect they're going to ascend it into an Aeostale, the ability to have a guy on field that can theoretically live a turn is really important for a deck that may or may not be playing 2-drops that you want to ascend into.
Is that a creamsicle color combination on that mare?
It's beautiful, right? It's a real yellow and gold memento.
Looks tasty.
Yeah. All right, we're seeing the Gorgon's Gaze come down on the Narpoon. Narpoon on cast acts like Elemental Hero Stratos. It allows you to add a Frost Enchanted Elestral from your deck to your hand. Really important that you prevent those from getting in. And when a card is Gorgon's Gaze, not only can it not activate its effect, it also can't attack. So we get to guarantee that the Luxomare lives. And down comes Kothmel. We are really getting in. Just another 1-drop that cashes in after you ascend off of it. Going to be met with a Tsunami. This is a 1-cost water, I guess the equivalent would be Trap. Here a Counter Rune, which on cast moves all critters that are not Wanted or Enchanted to defense position. But this is still a great position to be in for 18 because, all the guys have big butts anyway. Now we are seeing one of the first cards from Moonrise. I'm talking about the boy Morphrost Scorpion form. So Bean Soldier has built his deck around Morphrost Scorpio form. This is the new release from Moonrise, which when cast allows you to discard a Morphrost to target an opponent's Elestral and set its base defense to 0 until the end of the turn. Then during this turn's end phase, you can expend 2 Frosts in order to destroy that Elestral. Importantly, discarding a card is powerful here because you can discard Morphrost Bat, which, if you discard Morphrost Bat, allows you to trigger its effect, and I believe cast a non-Bat Morphrost from your Underworld. Again, this is like Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, this specific deck is so close.
That seems really great, especially in tandem with something that switches all your opponent's guys to defense.
Yep.
Oh, you're in defense. Oh, and you have no defense. Well, sucks to be you.
Yeah, and even if you're able to interrupt the attack with something like a Shield of Achilles or a Tsunami of your own,
there's a baked-in way to destroy the guy anyway.
Exactly. You have to get rid of it, not just prevent the attack. So I think actually only shield really does what you want here. Yep, and we are going to walk over, I believe that's a 0-attack one. That A-Bomb form that we special cast does have the ability to get even bigger based on how many more Frosts are in your graveyard. So at minimum, it's going to get over the Kothmel here being met, like we said, with a Shield of Achilles. But if you're Bean Soldier, you're probably completely fine with that trade. Like, that's a guy that's going to threaten when it comes down again. A Compulse is not going to help you here. The Narpoon cannot get over the Kothmel, so we are going to be protected in terms of life total. So, in fact, let's see if we can't update that a little bit. I believe
Bean Soldier looks like he's in the driver's seat right now. What would have to happen for that to change from this position?
Well, this Morphrost deck is really powerful, but it also spends a lot of spirits really early to get off to the races. Inversely, this Solar deck doesn't. So Kothmel here refunds spirits. We only spent 1 on the Aeostale. I think that A-Team is at like something like 16. In fact, let's just turn the spirits off. There's no way I'm going to be able to keep up with this. Oh, and down goes the Scorp. Not a high attack stat on that individual card. So here we have an easy cast of the Morphrost if we like, but with a 3-attack Kothmel in attack position, we're going to go for Narpoon instead. This telegraphs either like an individually powerful card that will prevent the attack on the Kothmel, or more likely something like a Tsunami, which will allow A-Team to switch that Kothmel to defense position and then theoretically survive another turn because both these Narpoons are at 4. Grabbing, what the hell is that? I literally can't tell.
Can we ask? Hey, Bean Soldier, what the fuck is that?
They can't hear us.
Damn it.
I believe that is a terror form, but I could be wrong. Oh, Law says that's terror form. That's good enough for me.
Thank you, Law.
There's like 9 arts for each of these Morphrost, and it looks like we don't have something to deal with that Kothmel. We are going to take the Kothmel and take 1, but of course, the Kothmel on death refunds 3 solar, so actually we're just taking the... we're netting 2 here. Again, Bean Soldier looks way up, and their opponent is literally at nothing on field but 1 back row, but they're so far down in spirits. And one of the interesting things about Elestrals is that you can be super down in spirit count, or on the field, but as long as you're up in spirit count, you still feel like you're winning the game. Here, we're going to make use of those extra spirits by casting a Lavalith. Just like Moralith, under certain conditions, this can be fired off, even though it has the Monarch 2-drop stat line. The most powerful of all of them, Lavalith currently on the limited list, on cast allows you to target and destroy a rune on the field. It looks like we are going for the one under the Narpoon. It's a Gorgon's Gaze, and Bean Soldier says, you know what, you can have it. Electing to lose one of the Narpoons or activate something like a shield, rather than worry about it. But shield on Lavalith is not only super expensive, also puts you in a really bad position because, of course, Lavalith can just come down again next turn. Maybe you're just electing to never play a rune again. I think that's pretty unlikely. Bean Soldier's just thumbing through the graveyard here, looking for how many Morphrosts we're on, thinking how much the A-Bomb is going to be at. And it looks like not really that much. That's what, 5? So a 6-attack A-Bomb crashes with a Lavalith. You really wanted to clear it.
Me too, processor. Me too.
This is classic Bean Soldier play, just bleeding the entire hand. We can see a Shield of Achilles going for the 6-attack A-Bomb here. We're going to set the Shield of Achilles and try and get in for 3. But again, despite the fact that he looks like he's in control of this game, A-Team probably has about 13 spirits at their disposal. All right, do we have the... Oh, the Ambro here, so killer. Allows us to put back those 2 Vipyros and cast that Lavalith again. I think literally just doing that right now. Just being like, let me shortcut this for you. Oh, no. Putting back the 3rd fire. You know, it's strange. Like, I understand the shield on the Lavalith if you expect your opponent is actually not on enough fire to cast Lavalith twice, but after seeing 3 fire, maybe you make the decision that, like, oh, they're on a pretty substantial fire package. Here, eating the shield, Lavalith can theoretically walk over the Narpoon. Bean Soldier takes 1, and then the A-Bomb has to crash. He takes 1 again, and you can see Bean Soldier's only at 4 spirits in deck. Despite the fact that he's looked in control the entire game, not managing spirit count effectively means that he is in a hugely losing position from here. All right, down comes the Terraform.
It's incredible how, like, this is the first card game I've seen where, like, the life counter actually matters throughout the entire game.
Okay, so fun fact about the poison-tipped arrow, that targets, which means that Terraform, which has this targeting protection built in, can discard this Morphrost bat in order to negate it. That's incredible news for Bean Soldier, which means that Bean Soldier now gets to cast what appears to be a Lycan form out of the graveyard, but in doing so goes down to 2, will take 1 off the Lavalith, and then is a sitting duck to anything. Like, you want to be happy for what's going on here. Everything is going his way. It's just, the damage step Gorgon's as bad as it gets. That does target again, so we can use the Terraform to negate that as well. But now we are out of cards in hand. Thankfully, putting that A-Bomb in the graveyard, I believe, gets over the Lavalith without having to take damage. Taking 3 on A-Team's side, but really any reasonable Elestral here will allow A-Team to take the entire game. I think that Josh is just banking on the fact that this board is going to be enough. Looks like A-Team is down to about 5 spirits in deck to Josh's 1. What are we doing here? Expending to draw. Wait, this is the best case scenario for Josh. If that's not a Tsunami, this might be the straight up end of the game. Ambro here to put 3 back, I believe puts A-Team at 5 again? We'll have to check. 4 or 5. We're going to re-enchant the Terraform. We're going to try for it. It is Tsunami! Alright, 1 turn to get out of this. We're taking 1 off the Narpoon. What's the draw? 2 left. It's something. It's the 3rd Ambro! We're still in the game! Oh my god. Ugh. And look at Josh. I love this position from Josh. He's just like hands on the table, just sort of sweating. Ast Rabbit! Oh, God!
Yeah! Ast Rabbit, let's go!
Okay, so Ast Rabbit doesn't contest the A-Bomb on field, but it theoretically could find a card that could get into it. Josh kind of playing with his set card. I imagine thinking about a Gorgons, pulling off the Terror and the last Spirit in extra, says instead, you know what, go for it. I think the only thing that can even potentially stem the bleeding here for A-Team is a Tsunami. Of course, they can't really get back into the game because the Ambros have all been spent already, and says, let's go to game 2. Oh, wow. I did not think Josh was going to walk with that. It's so strange. Despite looking in command the whole game, I think he was losing until the very end. When you saw that critical turn, against decks like this, the tempo is so important. And if you spend a turn expending to draw, you can't just die. Like, you can't just take 5 and die for no reason. One cool thing about Elestrals is if your hand sucks, you can mulligan it. You have to expend 2 spirits to do so, but a lot of these decks really do not care about that.
I mean, it came down to less than 2 spirits at the...
It did, yeah.
So...
Beautiful Lumaru here, by the way. That is the, I think, reverse stellar of this card. This guy's just got 5 attack. That's the whole reason you play him. He's got 5 attack.
Oh, it's Gemini Elf.
Exactly, yeah. Although it's kind of bad to enchant him properly because if he connects, he mills you for 3, and so many decks are like, you're going to mill me? You got it. Cast Cedar Soar. All right, so here we are going to go for the Lycan play again.
Imagine doing that against the Blizz.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going for the Lycan form play here. We're going to grab Bat and I imagine Scorpio if we don't already have Scorpio. If we do, we might get Terraform here. Looks like we did get Scorpio. Kind of the justification for Morphrost right now is that finally you have something to do with Lycan form instead of just getting guys. I think we see a Resting and an Ambro in this hand. This is just Narpoon Resting Ambro is what it looks like. This is classic Bean Soldier just playing face up and winning anyway. We're going to go Narpoon here. I wonder what we're adding because we kind of already have everything we need. Could just grab a Terror here to try and turn the Bat on the hard way.
Is that what's happening?
No, we're grabbing a Catarant. So Catarant on cast and on receive of a Frost Spirit heals you. So one way to get back into games where like you have control of the board but are dead to some number of just direct damage.
I remember you telling me how powerful heals are. And we did see that in the last game where...
Yeah. We saw a couple of assholes playing 8-color heal stall. Shouts out to them. Galaxy coming down here. Galaxy, one of the most powerful cards from last metagame. Just a 1-drop water Elestral that's 2/5, but whose effect swaps the attack and defense of every water enchanted Elestral here, including the Narpoon, putting it to a 2/4 and triggering both the Lumaru and allowing Galaxy to get in for 1. Of course, this also puts them at 2 spirits ahead of Josh's 1, which means that if he wants, he could theoretically cast this copy of Resting on Your Laurels, though I don't know how pressured he feels at this moment anyway. Okay, we're resolving a second Lycan, and God, I don't even know what you get here. A-Bomb for sure. A-Bomb second Bat. You could go Bat, Terror. God, there's just a lot to think about. And we're pulling out another Scorpio as well. I think for this second game, A-Team is doing a really good job of understanding their role here. Being like, okay, like, I am supposed to be as aggressive as possible, as fast as possible. And, you know, as a result is just trying to get the beats on. Down comes the Resting. We'll eat one of these two. Picking the Lumaru here. There's a ton of ways to deal with Galaxy that don't necessarily deal with combat. And here's one of them here. Okay, so Scorp can discard Bat here and then switch Galaxy's defense to 0. But, oh, we're already getting into some stat changes on Galaxy. Can we get a Galaxy PTA copy pasta going?
What is the Galaxy PTA copy pasta?
So, the way that Galaxy works... stat increases and decreases on this card function in a weird way. In Elestrals, it's not sequentially based on, like, when something is activated. In Yu-Gi-Oh, for instance, if you give a monster 400, then take away 400, it ends up at 0, right?
Yeah.
In Elestrals, it's always applied the same way in layers. First you apply increases or decreases, then you apply sets, then you apply, or first you apply sets, then you apply increases or decreases, then you apply swaps. So there's a lot of situations where like Galaxy loses some attack points, but ends up still being like very big because the swap occurs last.
Oh.
And there's the boy Cockray. He did make it in. This is a pretty easy attack here, but
I'm sorry, his name's Cockray?
Yep, Cock, yeah.
Yup, Cockray.
Looks like we are eating the Scorpion, not surprising. And 2 back rows pretty scary too. What we haven't seen any of in the top 8, I guess we've only watched 1 game total. What we haven't seen any of is Hurricane. They printed Heavy Storm.
What? Why?
Well,
why would they do that?
It's actually kind of unclear if the card is any good. If Heavy Storm gets to pop 3 back row, it's insane. But because every card in Elestrals has a cost associated with your life total, it has to actually do something. And this is a 3 cast rune, which is like more than a 10th of your life. If you get a 3 for 1, that's fine. If you get a 2 for 1, it's okay. Like that's still pretty good.
But paying 3 for a 1 for 1.
It's terrible. And the way people have been playing around it is just setting a singular card. Now that makes them uniquely weak to some decks like Blizzstrix, but as soon as you know your opponent's on a deck that's playing like a bunch of punishes for setting 3, you just stop doing it. Edward has massively fallen off. So happy to see that he's alive.
Couldn't the Blizzstrix also play the punishment for setting 3, so it's a damn if you do, damn if you don't situation?
And occasionally they do, but that deck takes so much health setting up that often it's a big problem. Tsunami here is going to flip everything but the Eddy into defense position, and I believe that means it survives. You may be wondering why we didn't see an activation of the Terraform on the Eddy activation, because of course you can negate targeted effects. Well, guess what? Eddy doesn't target for some reason. All right, down comes the A-Bomb. I think it's actually quite low. I don't know if he's going to go check, but I think it's like a 3-4.
That is not a particularly explosive bomb we're seeing.
Setting 1 here. He's counting right now. 1, 2, 3. 3 puts it at a 4-3, which means it crashes with Eddy. Is that worth losing an A-Bomb? Theoretically, you can crash the Lycan form in so it gets over Eddy, but is that worth your time? Regardless, it's not going to matter because we have a Tsunami of our own. Okay. What are we thinking about here? Expend to draw. Actually, not a bad get at this position. And you see setting 3 just throwing caution to the wind. It's like, you don't have Hurricane. Kind of have to make a soul read on this one. All right, switch everyone to attack so it's a little harder to get through, but doesn't have any really good attacks here. And Bean Soldier is able to go Lycan here, which not only gets more material, but also gets that A-Bomb just a little bit bigger. I'd be surprised if there were enough Morphrosts left. We have a Bat. I think we have 1 more A-Bomb as well. Oh, it looks like we've got a couple. A third Scorp, a third A-Bomb. All right, Josh, show us the Pro Set Hurricane. Are you a genius? This would be the Hurricane of all time. He's thumbing it over.
Come on. Come on.
Nah, I wish that he had. All right, going for the Catarant here says, well, if I'm going to max out my my Elestrals in my zones, I might as well use one that gets something from re-enchanting. And PTA coming down on Catarant, that's fine. You want the cash in. You, of course, would prefer to be able to cash in more and more over the course of multiple turns. But you're happy that this eats one of the back row. 3 back row remain. Really scary to be attacking A-Bomb into this board in attack position because you expect that at least one is like a Gorgon's Gaze or a Dense Fog. I wonder what will happen. Gorgon's Gaze here, of course, does very little because you have to have both the Gorgon's Gaze for this and negation for the Terror. So I think you have to read it's a Dense Fog.
Frederick Clark, that is such a mood.
And they say, you know what, that's okay. I'll go ahead, I'll take it. And I'll pay out the Catarant as well. So we were able to get over the Cockray, we were able to blow up the Catarant, but we have now reached kind of parity. I was going to say, get that Catarant in the graveyard, buddy. Oh, are we seeing the Ascension? We are. What do we got? Nah, not a fire. Thinking about fire or water here. It's got to be Draco Ray. Here we are going fire. Draco Ray it is. And there is the punish. Whoa, that's devastating. Oh no! So Draco Ray is an Elestral that, if properly enchanted, heals you for a certain amount. Now that's really good, of course.
Yeah.
Sometimes you misenchant it with a water so that you can theoretically get through a Tsunami, but casting it correctly means you get heals. Bean Soldier has planned for this and has boarded into a card that if a heal would occur, the heal is prevented and the guy who tried it dies. So this huge play that cost a normal summon to basically hit a Monarch, got Solemn Judgmented into a board that had to be cleared, and now A-Team is taking 4. This is the end of the game. Wow, what a miserable ass side option.
Oh.
I know I said he didn't have anything. I guess I was totally wrong.
Well, now we know.
Oh my
That's
God.
the closest we'll see to bad reaction to Samachi in this game.
Yeah. I think this card was invented to deal with, like, the heal stall decks that were, like, cropping up.
Yeah.
But every time it has an application against a meta card, it's like, oh my God, why would you do this to me? Second cock. I mean, I guess we can get over the Lycan form.
Don't you hate it when they put their second cock on the table?
Yeah, dude, it's unbelievable. I imagine, like, if you have something like, we're eating one of the terrors. We're crashing with one of the terrors, rather. If you have something like a dense fog, maybe you just, like, let it sit. And if Josh has something like a Shield of Achilles, I bet he was thinking about it just because it's like, it's over. It's totally over. Re-enchanting the A-Bomb here. We're going to try and use the effect. Do we have to Gorgons the A-Bomb, allow him to discard Bat? There's no out here. Like, this board is so sticky. It feels so locked up. The only way out is a big-ass guy, and we just lost our opportunity to do that. Taking another 4 here, I struggle to think what would get him out of this. Sans, like, almost exactly Lavalith or Arcolith, but it's such a low likelihood that those cards are even in. The Owloon's going means we're giving up on the Spectera stream. 1 Spirit remaining. Do we have an Ambro? We do not. It's Kothmel, which is kind of Ambro when you think about it. But still a really poor position to be in, because on death, Kothmel reborns 3, and then Josh just gets to hit for 3. So, like, one of those back row has to do something. And Josh says, you know what, asshole? I've got the Ambro. I'll go down to 3 here. I'll bring 3 back. Just totally in control of this game. You can see the hand. It's okay, but wait, are we ascending into a Morolith? No need. Come on, man. Do you really have to do this? Lycan form, one of the last remaining bad guys on Josh's side of the field. Morolith milling 5 here. The second poisoned fruit. Wow, what an asshole. All 5 to the graveyard. All right, this might be it. He says, I am not satisfied with winning off of the putting you to 0. I want you dead now. Hits the Kothmel, and look at that. Shield, Gorgons, Tsunami, 3 banger pieces of back row completely nullified by how Josh's board works. I can't believe this terrible-ass deck has made it into top 4. You gotta stop this, man. We are back with your top 4. It's your boy, Joseph. I've got Spencer in the booth as well.
Hello!
We thankfully have a really cool matchup for you. 4 different decks in the top 4, and I gotta tell you, they're all just variations on Blizzstrix. That's not true. So
Silly rabbit, Blizzstrix are for kids.
Yeah, it's gonna be a Vol Tempest, our undefeated player, Adam, or Adam. I don't really know how to say it. Playing against Bean Soldier on Morphrost. I do want to watch that because that's probably the 2 best players in the game right now. Unfortunately, we did just watch Bean Soldier, and I will claw my eyes out if I have to watch a Vol Tempest game. So instead, we're going to show off some of the cool stuff from the newest set. It's Prime and Spiteful Dunker 13, who are on both Thunder Beatdown and Lunar Beatdown. And we just saw this Lunar Beatdown deck advance. It's so tight. It's so cool. There's so many cool things it does, and I'm really excited to watch it deploy a lot of the cool new cards and strategies from Moonrise versus this Thunder deck, which, despite the fact that it's called like a Thunder aggro or whatever, is playing like almost no Thunder anything. It's like it's just like all the Thunder cards from yesteryear come back to roost. I'm excited for this Prime list. I don't want to spoil too much for you, but it is really ridiculous. Let's just pull it up real quick. It's of course got like the Astrabbits, the Elechiks, the Joltons, we saw the Arcolith in a previous round. Cool stuff all around. That is not all it's playing. It is playing some new cards from Moonrise that I really don't want to spoil because they will influence what happens in this game if either of these people have this stream up. And then out of the side deck, they're playing some really fun stuff. So we'll talk about it as we get to side decking, but do keep in mind, this ain't your daddy's Thunder list. Looks like they may have taken a mull as well.
When you mulligan, do you draw the same number of cards and you just pay a spirit?
You pay 2 spirits, so a tenth of your life. But in a lot of these tempo decks, it doesn't matter. Like, obviously, it matters to a degree. I mean, we've seen a number of games, even on today's stream, and the one that we watched, come down to the last point of life. However, it is so much more important that you are able to mount an offense.
Right.
Looks like the pair of them kind of staring at each other here. Yolton versus Spectrus. And Yolton versus Yolton. That Yolton searching Temple of the Moon is really sexy. The field spells in this game, the stadiums, have the pre-2010 Yu-Gi-Oh rules. So you can only have one. And more important than the benefit they give you, they all give you the same benefit, which is your critters get +1 attack for each enchanting spirit under them of the same element. They also enable cards like the one you're seeing right here, Altar of Stars, which can move spirits from one thing to another. Here we're just quibbling over if you're allowed to alter off of alter off of a stadium that is going to go to the graveyard because of the state-based action of there being 2 stadiums on the field. I think we're just calling a judge real quick to confirm that. Get in here, Skyhawk. Skyhawk is delivering their ultimate
state-based action. I didn't know the government was involved in this game.
You're calling this state-based?
I mean, we are in the state of Maryland right now.
Oh yes, right. As based as it's gonna get. Alright, they're walking through it real quick. And it looks like we are going to allow the Altar of Stars to resolve here. I imagine moving that Jolt into 2 defense because, of course, the Spectres could just be moved directly back. Still going to take a pretty big hit here. The entire back row clear and total control of the game. Setting 1 additional. It's so funny. We saw this like stupid explosive linear game plan out of Bean Soldier. Adam is playing this Towers Turbo strategy, and then this one is just like, yeah, we're playing mid-range. We're just mid-range beatdowning. All right, there it is. Okay, so you may be shocked at what you are seeing, but no, that is actually Aviolith. All right, let me talk to you about Aviolith.
Oh, I'm excited.
So like every Lith, this card can be cast for 2, provided your opponent has fulfilled a certain condition, right?
What's the condition?
Free Monarch, etc. This one is your opponent has 2 set cards. Now, this is strange because that doesn't happen often. Frequently, your opponent will set 1 in order to most effectively play around Hurricane. Or they'll set 3 under the understanding that you're not going to actually activate Hurricane. You're playing the punishes for 1 back row, like P-Gust or Thunderstorm. 2 is kind of the sweet spot and opens you up to counterplay from cards like exactly Gloombat and exactly Aviolith. The use case for this card is so narrow, but on cast it draws you cards equal to the number of your opponent's face down shit. So here we are able to just refill our entire hand. What is that? I literally can't tell. It's a Stellar, so I don't know what it is. That's Stellar Doppelgator? They just have Stellar Doppelgator already? Okay, yeah, whatever. So a beautiful copy of Doppelgator. They're hard ascending over the Spectres here just to get a guy on field that does something. Going for another Yolten. That Yolten's going to contest the Temple of the Moon that's on field by getting another copy of Mount Olympus. And that's going to put them in a really good position. But this Doppelgator's AoE decrease effect is making it really hard to actually mount an offense. Not to mention the 2 back row that are, again, still on the field. This is a hard game. I mean, despite the fact that the Aviolith drew 1 trillion cards, it looks like they're in a position where, like, they just don't have any back row. And in these mid-range games, I mean, that's the problem. Is like Morphrost, you're always drawing Morphrost, right? But games like this, you have to draw a discrete number of both Elestrals and runes. And if you don't find that, you know, it's like playing Gemini Elf beatdown against an opponent who could just summon Zombira at any time without a bottomless trap hole. I said, we're slamming down another copy of Temple of the Moon. I love these Stadium Wars. We are going to go Doppelganger with a water to effectively play around Tsunami, reading that that single back row is a Tsunami. And we're going combat.
Nori, I am so sorry.
That is what it is. Down goes the Aviolith. Honestly, it accomplished its goal, which was making me excited to see Aviolith. There's just really nothing else I wanted other than that. You know, I don't know how I feel about the Jolton. You probably do have to eat the Jolton here because you know your opponent is playing cards like Arcolith. But the Arcolith is on anyway, and oh no, it's as bad as it gets. We are seeing an activation of a card that many people forecasted would be one of the most powerful in this set. I'm talking about the Lunar phase that allows you to enchant up to 2 Lunars to your side of the field. That means an Elestral that would have hit for nothing can suddenly hit for 2 over. And with a card like Temple of the Moon, it is also a combat trick. It also threatens an Ascension into Pharaohgeist, which will be on next turn. We are seeing playing out in real time why everyone was so scared of these Moonrise cards. And a base set Astrabbit coming down, proving that sometimes you can't go home again. As much as I love the boy, not a great position to be in.
Man, that does so many things. Can also do my taxes?
Yeah, right. No, I really like the Lunar phase cards, especially the enchant. I believe it's Full Moon. It just has so many applications, so many fun things it can do. And it feels good that like there are real consequences for what should be an easy cast. Now setting 3 saying, listen, if you have Hurricane from this position, I need to start playing to my outs rather than playing more defensively. Like I am so far on the back foot, it behooves me to just, you know, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. And down comes Nobby. The onslaught continues. An unbelievable 1-drop here. Theoretically going to be able to get all the way over anything that comes down on the side of Prime. And shuffling their hand real quick. I think we're thinking about like a PTA.
Okay, Full Moon is super expensive right now, but like, how expensive is expensive by Elestral standards?
It is a money card. I would to anyone looking to invest in Elestrals, I would wait on Full Moon until people get their Moonrise pre-orders. At present, it's like $30.
Okay.
And so it looks like we're taking 3 total, 2 off of Gorgons on the Doppelgator, and then 1 off the Nobby. But I mean, you can only really take so many hits of, you know, 5 attack guys before things start getting tough. And yeah, we're seeing an early scoop here. But it's not like there was really too much to do in that position anyway. There are catch-up mechanics in this game, of course. You have Lavalith, which is a classic one. But if that comes down, it doesn't have enough attack to get over the Doppelgator because it's sinking everything. Same goes for Arcolith. The Aviolith was cast and did hot nothing. The only other thing I can think of that would get them back into the game is resting on your laurels, but resting targets the guy with the lowest spirit count, which means that all that would be sent to the graveyard there is the Nobby, like a really no-win situation. Even individual targeted removal, I mean, a Dark Hole, I think would be what they would have to do. They'd have to smuggle it in from Yugs. Next potential ban list comes around April 1st.
Especially if it's a good ban list.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Well, you don't even have to make it good. We saw at the Yu-Gi-Oh event, you can put a bad ban list up and people will be excited if they're there for it.
Yeah, but imagine how much more excited they'll be if it's a good ban list.
Does it bother anyone else that caster refers to both shoutcasters and the lore name for players? Don't get me started on the term cast. My #1 problem with Elestrals is that cast means 9 different things. But I'm super excited for Dallas. I hope to see you all there. I will be there. I'll be playing. If you all want to say hi, you know, feel free to. I don't want to be presumptuous and be like, if you all want me to sign stuff, I will, but I imagine some people will. Thoughts on mana weaving the spirit deck? You should be allowed to mana weave the spirit deck, yeah. You don't understand. Any sort of spirit manipulation is legal as long as it's randomized at the end. So why did you mana weave? So that I don't draw too many lands and not enough spells. Then why did you mana weave? You can only reverse French braid your spirit deck. A simple mana weave isn't efficient enough. That's what I'm saying. Wow, I'm noticing a lot of emojis coming in. You're allowed? What does that do? They press an emoji and a little heart shows up on my screen? Can everyone slam the emoji button? I've never seen this feature on YouTube. Let's actually, can we get everyone to slam the same emoji button? Can everyone slam the 100? I'd like to see how many 100s we can get. There we go. Oh, they're coming in now. Oh, this is like 200.
This is 2 million right here.
It's going to generate a highlight. YouTube is going to be like, wow, people were going crazy over this 100. Holy moly. Speaking of 100, let's get a 100 going for the Pharaoh Geist that just hit the board. Again, this is why we limited the card, folks. Look at this thing. Okay, so this is properly enchanted, which means that its effect is online. It also means that at present it hits for 3 plus, you know, kind of it hits for 4 because in order to deal with it, you need to at least have one guy.
It hits for 4.
We have a Tsunami here, but the thing about Pharaoh Geist is that it also has 10 defense.
What can't it do?
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, for a long time, the only way to play this guy was Reanimator. Like, you would mill it off of something, then you'd bring it back with the 1 Monster Reborn this game has, and it was worth it to spend, like, 9 to do that, just because the card is insane. But the deck was a little too inconsistent to be powerful. Now that you can just slam him down on top of something that you've Lunar phased onto, it's like, well, okay, I guess this card is good.
Yeah, no shit.
It's 13 defense. It's actually what? It's 9 attack, 13 defense? That's
what
nuts.
the fuck?
Yeah, he's big. He's got a big butt. We're switching that Elechick to defense. He's like, I'm not taking 4. It's like really a rough position to be in versus Pharaoh Geist. It costs you to cast cards. It costs you to draw. Like, really boom, bat, or bust at this point, I feel like. Ugh, sheesh. At least you can PTA it by spending 5. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Who wrote that monstrosity? That's what I'm asking.
It's actually really crazy to, like, if you went back in time to Daybreak release and you were like, yeah, Pharaoh Geist is the best card in the game, I think half of people would laugh you out of the room, and the other half would be like, yeah, I mean, we know this is a ticking time bomb. Everyone's trying to get their 9/11 jokes in. It's such a bad position to be in. You really don't want a PTA Nabi. Yeah, you have to. Oh, pulling it. Whoa! Pulling it off the Elechick. It's got to be a Tsunami set. That's the only scenario in which I can imagine this is even remotely correct. Otherwise, we're taking 5 this turn. We have to take 1 additional to even pay for the PTA because the Pharaoh Geist is online. So getting rid of this Nabi is going to cost us 3 plus 2 for the Tsunami. Like, even interacting with the board that has this big asshole on it costs you. It puts you at such a disadvantage. Switching everything to attack here. We can't even shield it. Show us the 2 for the Tsunami, please. Oh, no, we're taking it. Oh, God. How many spirits do they have right now? I believe that that Spiteful Dunker is at 15. Like, I think the... Or at 14. Whereas Prime is at, like, 6.
Ooh. Well, we are seeing the power of...
Okay, so this is close. By using No Stone Unturned, we can get Unk to hand. Then we can hard cast Unk. Go down to like 1 in the process. Unk can hit for 1,000,000 over the Nabi, which is something. But the Gorgon's Gaze coming down probably ends the game on the spot. Look at Prime just like, I guess I have to expend 2 additionals for these 2. they're just playing their entire hand, scooping into the Pharaoh Geist triggers. Oh my god. 2 turns with this guy, and it feels like... I swear there is no card in this game that makes me feel more like, you're going one-on-one tonight in the cage, than Pharaoh Geist. What a killer jerk. And look at the hand! A Doppelganger, a Zeus, a Resting, a PTA, a Gorgon set. We were never in that game.
Think about how much the crowders would pog out of their minds if they announced a Pharaoh Geist ban live at Dallas after the event.
We'll have to see how dominant it is. It's very possible that there are sufficient ways to deal with it. People just start maining Boombat and stuff like that, but it is certainly seeming good today. It all comes
down to this.
Down to this.
In one corner, the most insane card I've ever seen in my entire life. In the other corner, a deck of all cards that share the exact same name.
Well, folks, if you have been following the trajectory of Elestrals, your main takeaway from this weekend should probably be that Blizzstrix is the unbeatable, undefeatable, tier 0, tier limit nonsense deck of the format, which is why it was the most represented deck in Swiss and 0 copies cleared to top 8. If you get a second thing out of this weekend, it's that it was probably right to preliminarily limit Pharaohgeist because we are one tournament into Moonrise and it is in finals versus the best player in the game. We've got Bean Soldier TV playing Morphrost of all things, making use of Scorpion, and Spiteful Dunker 13 on Lunar aggro. Let's just jump in right now. All right, looks like they have shuffled up. I'm super excited to see how this goes. So what I do like is that this, at minimum, does kind of display two different styles of gameplay in that Bean Soldier's deck goes very, very wide very, very quickly. A lot of Morphrosts in a lot of different positions, whereas Spiteful Dunker's deck goes very, very tall. Makes one big-ass guy, usually Pharaohgeist, on the back of some really impressive plays thanks to the Lunar phase cards. I think we're going to see those early and often, but when they come up, we will, of course, flag them. And I love this. No respect for Hurricane whatsoever says, I've actually seen you in Swiss, so I know you don't play this terrible card. So we can see that Bean Soldier has opened Narpoon. It takes a little longer than you would want because this Narpoon kind of has to resolve to get access to Lycan Form, so you can then actually do your combo. But, ooh, the Gorgon's Gaze coming down. So this is kind of a rough position for Bean Soldier. You obviously want to be able to resolve a Morolith and, like, threaten something like an Ash Rabbit on a future turn, but you can't do that if you don't have Lycan Form because you won't have guys in the graveyard. However, walking over the Narpoon puts the guys in the graveyard necessary to cast Morolith, so you're not in a bad position anyway. You just traded for a Gorgon's Gaze. It's this type of mental warfare in the landscape of the mind that separates the Bean Soldier TVs from the MBTs. All right, we're going for the Jolton. We saw the Jolton deployed to really impressive heights in previous games, if only as a mechanism by which to get lunar spirits onto your field. Here I imagine we are probably searching the Temple of the Moon, which can be wielded later in order to nexus spirits from the Temple of the Moon to something else in order to set up for a really powerful Pharaohgeist play, aided by the consistency available due to Astrabbit triggers. Crashing the Jolton here is also a really great opportunity to get one guy in both graveyards, turning off Morphrost, at least for the time being. And down comes Terraform. God, this is really not where you want to be as Bean Soldier. Just a really miserable ass card. I will say, as much as I want to talk about, like, cast Astrabbit in defense position being just, like, the most powerful play in the history of time, this is kind of the first time we've seen it all weekend. This deck that Spiteful Dunker is playing is the only thing sans the Voltempest deck that I think played it even in top 8. We are finally entering a position where turn 1 Astrabbit isn't the best play in the world, closely edged out by turn 1 Lycan Form, or I'm going to summon 9 Blizzstrix from my graveyard. All right, the the really quick Gorgon's Gaze on this, I believe that's a Nobby. Beautiful Nobby. Nobby kind of forms the core of Spiteful Dunker's deck, and just being able to resolve it here into a board that isn't threatening it is so crucial. Gorgon's Gaze preventing it from going to the graveyard means that this Terraform is just chilling once again. We're going to go for the Temple of the Moon, telegraphing an Altar of Stars, but, like, what are you going to do about it, right? Ooh, an Indus form off the top. Okay, that's going to guarantee that we have access later on to Morphrosts, and Bean Soldier says, you know what, go to hell, I'm going to cast mine. We are going to go for the Morphrost here. Do we have the right number of guys in grave? Checking here, it is 1 to 1, right? Yeah, I don't think we can. Yeah, back to hand. I was going to say, Spiteful Dunker has done a really good job of keeping that Morphrost offline. It's going to take a development of the Terraform or the Indus in order to get into a position where the Morphrost is on for future turns. Not Nobby, it's Werepup. And attacking into a Werepup, so scary. Let's see if we see it. Oh, and there it is, the card that we've been so scared of all weekend. The card that Josh is actually responsible for blowing the whistle about how scary this card could be. The Lunar phase that allows you to place 2 spirits onto your side of the field, here onto the Werepup, which can then immediately ascend into a Like a Void via its own effect because a full moon was cast. Like a Void is going to, of course, get another spirit on cast, and then we'll be hitting for an unbelievable amount of damage. Oh no. Water enchanting to play around Tsunami as well. It's all the way online. And Josh says, all right, go ahead. Re-enchanting the rabbit here is such a dangerous position to be in. God, and it really looks like things might be going very south very quickly for Josh. I can't really tell. That looks like a full art card that Spiteful Dunker has just revealed. I mean, if it is, it's probably a Pharaohgeist, which is a real problem. Checking the Spirit deck real quick to do some math. The operate issue as to whether the Pharaohgeist gets cast or not in previous games has been if they have expended the Nape a little early.
The Luminate?
Yeah, so frequently, because the spirit math is so bad in these decks, they'll only play a singleton copy of the spirit that enables them to actually cast the Pharaohgeist with its effect online. So if they get rid of it as they pay for stuff or take damage, then that plan is just off. Depends on if they've done it or not, but here I imagine they are just checking real quick before going for a very specific play. I'm going to set one more, and I imagine we're just going to get the aggro in. Werepup into the Terror. We'll send the Terror, and again, still not in Morolith range because we ascended over the Werepup and put an additional guy into the graveyard while still advancing our board state. Oh, man. No, Morolith's still off. I think they have to check again. Yeah, look, Josh just putting it back in hand like, God, can I cast this card? Wow, that turn 1 Gorgon's Gaze on the Narpoon cutting off access to the Lycan form feels like the end of the game that early. Developing the Indus form, and I know he's just kicking himself for not developing it last turn, instead going for a Terror that did hot nothing and wasn't able to get him any closer to a Morolith that's now 4 turns too late. Now Josh is thinking about activating Indus. Says, you know what, I won't activate the Indus because as you pay out the PTA, the Indus is going to the graveyard and it'll be ahead on Morolith anyway. But all it's going to take here is an Ascension over the Astrabbit or the Lyca Void for a Pharaohgeist, and all of a sudden we are back on Morolith.
Is Josh's Spirit deck unsleeved?
Yeah.
This whole time?
I love unsleeved Spirit deck. It's such a fun way to play. Oh, and Ambrosia too. Beautiful stuff. It looks like we can see the Luminape has not been expended so far. Putting back one of the Zaptors, I imagine prepping for a re-enchant on the Astrabbit some point later in the game. We're going to call for the Temple here. And I wonder if you switch the Astrabbit to attack just to get in for like 9. All right, really quick negotiating the defense points on this guy. We'll take 1 off the Jolt and attack. All right, Bean Soldier, what you got for me? The Morolith's... Okay, so we do have another copy of Boreas. Finally, the Morolith is coming down. We're checking one more time. It's like 3 versus 4. Ugh. I mean, while you know, it is kind of devastating to see, you played around it as best you could and basically cut off a turn 2 Morolith for turn 5. And I think you have to be happy about that. Going for the Gorgon's Gaze here, I think maybe Spiteful Dunker doesn't know what Bean Soldier is doing. Expecting like a Cedar Soar or a Blizzstrix coming down. In reality, all we know is he's making an A-Bomb slightly bigger. Expending to draw here. Always feels weird in a late game scenario, expending to draw. We saw that they added back a copy of Zaptor, which is kind of strange because you would expect we would just re-enchant the rabbit here. But maybe valuing the Zaptor for like a future turn. Here, just keeping the Lyca Void in defense position, or in attack position while everyone else goes to defense. And Josh expending to draw as well, going up to 2 here, setting an additional one, a Morolith and a Dream. I imagine walking over the rabbit here. And is it a shield? It's a Tsunami. That's devastating, of course. Morolith in defense position now with 5-6 defense. You have to imagine there's a mechanism to get back into this game. Surely we have a way to out this big boy. We are going to go for the re-enchant rabbit here. Whatever we were doing last turn on the expended draw, we've decided is not worth it. Ooh, that Ambro looking spicy. Immediate snap pick from Spiteful Dunker as well. I think I saw an Earthquake in hand, so it might be as simple as like fire the Ambro, put the 2 Earth Spirits back, cast Earthquake, win. Really thinking on this. I mean, this is one of those plays where it's like do or die. Pulling off the Lyca Void here, one of the Lunar Spirits. Josh thumbing over to the Spirit deck here. Spiteful Dunker looking through. You can see pulling out. Oh, yeah. Pulling out a Zaptor. Oh, no Terratlas, so I guess it's not Earthquake. Two Zaptors and an Owloon. Uh-oh. Have we stalled here? Josh drawing. Josh clawing his way back into this game from a spirit pool of 4. Thumbing out the grave real quick. I think checking on an A-bomb. A-bomb math here is pretty impressive, but you got to be really, really careful because, of course, that Like a Void can just win the game on its own. Ooh, Narpoon's good, but puts you in a really weird position because you have to spend 2 in order to get what you want, which is just an A-bomb. So we go Narpoon here. I imagine we're getting a Lycan. We can go Lycan for a Scorp Bat and just, like, hope that's enough. But we can't even get an A-bomb out of the graveyard. We have to get a Terror. I guess there's an argument we just get A-bomb here under the assumption that, like, we're just not going to have the spirits to do the Scorp play. Really tough question. Thumbing through the spirits, I believe they're all Frost. We are going to get the Lycan. We're going to go for the Lycan as well. We're getting Scorp Bat. We are getting Scorp at least. We are getting Bat. Said, it's just not a game for A-bomb. Puts us in some weird positions too, like attacking into a Like a Void and just getting killed. Alright, the Morolith dream continues. You can switch the Morolith to attack, walk over the Like a Void, the Narpoon over the Jolton. We could even walk over the Rabbit if we want to be a little more careful. Going into the Like a Void, and it does connect. And over the Jolton as well. Okay, and suddenly Bean Soldier is very in this game that we thought he was just completely out of, resolving 1 Morolith with a copy of Mountains of Boreas, puts it in an 8-6. Nothing in the deck can clear it yet. Is it a Lavalith? No, it's a Nobby. Alright, Nobby coming down. Counting it out, it looks 3-5. Trying to go into Narpoon here. I thought he froze. He was like so in on that card.
Yes.
Doing a little bit of spirit math in his head, I think. Is this a Tsunami? It's a Shield. Oh, wow. We are going for it, That puts him down to 0. And we don't have like a free spirit bank with which to get over anything. It's got to be like Ambro or like... God, we can't even Catarant. It's got to be Ambro, and you have to pull it off the Narpoon. Oh, we're pulling it off the Mountains. Ooh, that's really scary. Obviously, Ambro here is really good, but the Mountain is also the thing that has kept us in the game by virtue of nothing being able to get over the Morolith while it's at 8 attack. Okay, it looks like a Kione in hand. Kione, Scorp, Bat. We know the entire hand, I guess. Scorp here, insane. Are we paying everything to go in on the Rabbit? Discard Bat for cost. Bat trigger for PTA, pull off the Rabbit on the Scorp. That's completely fine. I think you're totally okay with that. Bat resolves, grab Terror. I wonder if we even resolve the Bat. Yeah, Terror it is. I mean, I think you have to be happy about the PTA. You're hoping that it actually does pay out here, because in so doing, your opponent would just take an extra hit they wouldn't otherwise. I mean, here we are, Terror into the 0 defense Astrabbit. We're taking 3 off of 5. I guess we can't pay out the PTA, right? We can. We go to 1. We'll take 3 here. Are we paying out PTA?
No.
We are not. And suddenly it looks like Bean Soldier's totally in control of this game. I can't believe it. I thought he was dead to rights. This is just how the boy plays, though.
What a legend.
Here's the Nobby we know about. We do have a shield we can pull off of the Scorp. Use the 1 to put it back in the hand, and that should be all she wrote. Narpoon contests, even if it's a Tsunami, and Josh walks with game 1. Oh my god, I thought he was dead. I thought he was so dead. Oh, that's... And again, we spoke about it in Josh's previous match, but Morphrost really, really wants to win that game 1, because games 2 and 3, especially against decks that are playing these Lunar Elestrals, you're fearing Spectrus, you're fearing Dense Fog, you expect to see them, and those cards do kind of eat a significant amount of your deck alive. They're thinking through it here. Jolton turn 1, and looks like we are once again going to get into the Stadium Wars. Woof. Narpoon coming down. Again, this Narpoon just so much weaker than just having Lycan, but it looks like this time it is going to resolve. Thank goodness for that. No Gorgons turn 1, and now Bean Soldier is already off to the races. There is already a loaded gun pointed to Spiteful Dunker's head, and its name is the stupid Morphrost Scorpion Bat Interaction. Because you know what? I am going to grab the Scorp. There's a bomb, so we must already have that. And I think just deciding how much he wants to go in on the very first turn. I mean, you have a lot of time to play against a deck like this. The thing you're scared of course, is the inevitable Pharaoh Geist. You can see that we've gone Jolton, re-enchant with a Lunar Spirit to get its attack just a little bit higher under that Temple of the Moon. Gets over the Morphrost, or the Narpoon, while dealing 1 and not dying, which is a great position to be in. And you have to imagine that at least one of those cards is going to contest Bean Soldier's play here. All right, down comes the Morlith. Let's see the Mill 5. Is it happening? Gorgon's Gaze. Okay, no Mill, but man, stopping the Mill on the Morlith feels so much lower value against this deck just because, like, it's not trying to mill Blizzstrix. It's not trying to hit a whole bunch of guys that can theoretically go into something crazy. It's just trying to maybe make A-Bomb a little bigger. Like, the important part of this card is that it's a body. It chills on the field, and it has a couple of pieces of utility that maybe put it over the edge. All right, Zeus coming down as well. That will be a nice way to out the Morlith on field. Counting up here. Putting the Morlith at 3 and then getting over. We don't get to deal damage here, but we do get to get over, which of course is important. Bean Soldier back to 0 cards on field. Looks like we have drawn a Terror as well. Really a bad position to be in.
What's the spirit count?
Pretty much every spirit that has been used by Spiteful Dunker is currently on the field. We've got, I think, 2 in the Underworld and then 3 in the Underworld, then 1, 2, 3, 4 on field. So 13 to Bean Soldier's fewer than that.
I see.
Thumbing through the hand here, it looks like we've got an Elechick, like a really weird position to be in. All right, we're going for the Scorp. Lycan form returns to the field. Just putting up a defense so the second bat can actually do something. Kind of dealing with each other at present. Looks like we're expending to draw here. Oh, we got the rabbit. God, we're not really seeing too much we want, though. Great opportunity to attempt to resolve the Elechick. I think you probably let this go because you're not, expecting anything too scary. Here, the Elechick just getting a copy of Zeus to potentially contest. Honestly, I'm surprised there's room for the Zeus in this deck. Just because there's so much other crap going on. Gonna try to hit for 3. This seems like a pretty easy tsunami if we have it, and we do. Drawing for turn here. Really in a bad way. We just need guys. We're just too far down on guys. This is like when you're playing a tempo deck like this one, it really sucks to find yourself in a position where, like, your opponent just has a lot of men and you don't. I think we can all admit we've been there at least once in our lives.
I know I have.
Your opponent has too many men. You don't have enough men. Down comes the resting, and a really, really sad resting, to be honest. Gets the Scorp, which is not nothing, but very, very arguably something. 8 spirits. Seems like a pretty easy attempt to go for the rabbit.
My girlfriend's calling to step out for a minute.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Looking at the top 3, seeing a bunch of back row. Again, nothing really reasonable to develop. Thumbing through it real quick. Trying to go direct to get over the Elechick. I guess that's worth a Tsunami. I don't know. You're pretty excited about that, I think, if you're if you're a Spiteful Dunker. Tsunami my Astrabbit? Oh, surely you jest. Surely you are jesting me right now. Clearly I am being jested. Down comes Scorp again. Oh my gosh. And all the back row in the world. One rabbit against everything. We could just play so slow with this. PTA on the Scorp. I mean, you're so happy to see that as Bean Soldier because now you get to still resolve the bat. You still get to deal with the fact that the Astrabbit is going straight to hell. Thumbing through the grave to even figure out what you would want to cast here. There's so many different things that just win you the game on the spot. And I think what you're seeing here is just a fundamental difference in playstyle. Bean Soldier is playing a deck with a game plan, whereas this Lunar deck is still operating under the assumptions that have been built over the course of the last several sets. Like, you need to be playing Astrabbit, you need to be maxing out on the back row runes, you need to be playing Removal, you need to be playing the powerful cards like Jolton that enable you to go over the top of 5-attack Elestrals. And Bean Soldier's like, oh, I don't care what the stats on these guys are, I'm going wide as hell. All right, down goes the rabbit, and we'll hit in for 3. Looks like 2 additional, and then 1 off the PTA if we want to send it. That puts Spiteful Dunker down to just a couple spirits left in deck. Going to the end phase asking about PTA. I think you do have to pay it out. Down to 3 in that spirit deck, and they are all Lunars. What are we doing with this? No Pharaoh Geist has come down yet. No Full Moon play. Josh completely in control of this game at about 7 spirits. We do see an Ambro in the hand of Spiteful Dunker, so maybe we can get back into the game. But we're just looking at some 2-drops in the grip. Oh my gosh, so painful. All right, we are going to go for the Ambro here, spending one of the Lunars. Thinking about how we are going to navigate this situation. Ambro again. Looks like we have just been drawing Ambro after Ambro after Ambro. That's a way to get back into the game, but requires really, really deft playmaking from here on out, and we've been choked on these Invoke runes. No guys to speak of. Whereas Bean Soldier can threaten 2 or 3 guys every turn, and if you clear a guy, that's just another space that can theoretically become a 1-drop. Back to, what, 8 here? Expending to draw into a full board. How painful. Looks like we did find maybe a Nobby, so next turn we have something to do. But for now, what are we doing? Just setting a Full Moon and praying? Oh, back to Bean Soldier, and you can see, I believe that was a Stadium Rune as well. Morphrost coming down just to hit for 1,000,000. Now, okay, we're checking real quick about the number. Yeah, I was going to say, this game, it is not a question. Oh, it is so painful. I mean, I love this Lunar deck. I think they've been playing really well. It's just... you have to draw guys in back row, and sometimes you draw one of more or the other. These hyper-consistent game plan decks are just going to eat you alive some games, and it looks like we're just sitting through one of those games right now off of the back of a bleeder in Game 1, a blowout in Game 2. I mean, we're putting them down, what, back to 2 after a turn in which they healed 6 using the Stadium on field? Oh, no. And as we wheel back to what could be Spiteful Dunker's very last turn, let's see what's on top of the deck. Will it be enough? Is that another... oh no, another 2-drop in sequence. And Bean Soldier is your Poison Nectar monthly champion on Morphrost. Oh my gosh, what a game. Oh man. Oh. Well, I don't have the face cam set up. I don't have any sort of ending card or discussion to talk about, but I do want to thank you all for stopping by. Thank you so much for this soft launch of the live version of the Poison Nectar Monthly. I was so happy to cast Top Cut. I'm so happy to cast anything, period, again. And
fuck, what I missed.
The end of the game. So happy to be able to say Bean Soldier is your Poison Nectar monthly champion. The Blizzstrix dooming was completely wrong, and there is a lot of really fun stuff to discover in Moonrise. You will, of course, be able to discover that stuff as Moonrise play rolls out through the official Elestrals tournament superstructure. Join their Discord for more on that. Outside of that, I'm gonna close the curtain on this stage in the Poison Nectar Monthly. How you feeling, Spence?
I'm feeling pretty good. Glad to see Bean Soldier take it. Glad to see all the dooming about Blizzstrix amounting to absolutely nothing.
Lightsworn looks crazy, loses anyway. We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Bye bye.